Okay, so I feel like I keep talking about Saturn, but really it's because I just finished the series. So anyways, I'm going to talk about my favorite planet today. One of my favorite planets, probably top three. Top three. So like I've said before, I like to think of the planets as a kind of cosmic family that is up there in the sky, and they're looking down upon us, and they're blessing or pushing us in certain areas of our lives depending on where they're placed in the chart. So in this planetary family, I like to think of the planets as, like I said, individual people, and I give them roles in the planetary family. And in doing that, I like to envision them as either celebrities or people who I know who display those traits more openly. And it's very easy to see this in celebrities or people in the media because they're so public. And you know, if it's somebody who has a lot of videos online, I could sit there and watch their videos all day long and really analyze them. And so that is how I found my perfect Saturn person, the most Saturnian person I have ever come across in my life. And he's quite made a career of himself as Saturn, and you'll see why. I'll put up his chart. Basically, he has Saturn in the 10th house, I believe. Oh, no. His MC is in Capricorn, and his Saturn is actually in Aquarius. So that's where he brings in his own, if I haven't said it already, it's Jordan Peterson. He's a Canadian psychologist and lecturer, and he goes around giving lectures. And the thing that he's most famous for is he wrote this book called 12 Rules of Life. And I love reading books, but that book was so dry that he was getting after me the entire time. So I haven't finished it. But when you think about Saturn, because I like to think of the planets as this little planetary cosmic family, I give them all roles. And the role of Saturn is that of, let's hear it folks, the cranky grandpa. I've said it like 100 times already. So this cranky grandpa wants to push you. He wants you to be tough. He's basically a boomer, guys. Like, he's basically a boomer, and he's gonna tell you that you suck in whatever area of your life where he's placed on your chart, and he's gonna tell you that you suck until you shape up your act and get your shit together and impress him. That's what he wants. He wants you to impress him, and he's very difficult to impress. So I like to think of Jordan Peterson as Saturn because he really displays those qualities very well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you some quotes to kind of drive the point home as to how Jordan Peterson really exemplifies Saturn. And then towards the end of the video, I'm gonna tell you where that cranky grandpa is disappointed in you, depending on where he's placed in your chart. I hope you stick around to the end. Okay, so I've already explained to you Saturn and the role that he plays, right? So like I said, he's this cranky old grandpa, and he's very traditional. Saturn is all about tradition and restriction and order and everything old. He rules time, he rules death and old people, right? So he's this old man, and Jordan Peterson is not even that old, but he's just very cranky about everything. So let me give you some quotes from Jordan Peterson. He says, this is a rather good one. He says, don't compare yourself with other people. Compare yourself with who you were yesterday. That quote is very Saturn in the first house. So he has this whole persona and this message that he's giving us all, where he wants us to do better and be better. And that is very Saturn. Saturn wants you to do work because he represents work, okay? So work on yourself. That's his main message, and that's Saturn's main message. His next one is rather harsh. He says, I don't tell people you're okay the way that you are. That's not the right story. The right story is you're way less than you could be. And that's rather harsh, but because I have Capricorn rising, I think that that's a very loving thing to say to somebody, because everyone could be better. Like, you can. Through work, you can be a better person. You can be better at everything that you do. So I don't see, but it is rather harsh. So the next quote is, it is more difficult to rule yourself than to rule a city. Again, Saturn is all about rules and regulations, and more than anything, control, right? So he is a planet and an old cranky grandpa, right? That in your life is, he wants you to rule and have dominion and expertise in a certain area of your life, depending on where he's placed. So if you haven't seen my series on Saturn and the quotes to get you through Saturn return, I highly recommend that if you want to know more about Saturn and you just can't get enough. The next quote is, adopt responsibility for your own well-being. Try to put your family together. Try to serve your community. Try to seek for eternal truth. That's the sort of thing that can ground you in your life enough so that you can withstand the difficulty of life. That is a very Saturn message. Life is hard, so you have to be tough. That is a very Saturn message. So Jordan Peterson is this character who is he's just going around the country and the world giving this message of his, like one of his famous quotes is, put yourself together, clean up your room. Like he's very much about discipline. And that's basically the role of Saturn in this planetary family, right? So depending on where Saturn is placed in your chart, that is where he's gonna be like, you know, reprimanding you and pushing you and making you suffer, because he wants you to be an expert. He wants you to be responsible in that area of your life. So always when you look at the planets, it's very important to learn the planets and really get to know their energy so that you can see how they're interacting in your chart and you could see their effect in your life. Especially not the personal planets, but like Saturn and on, those planets, I feel that those are the ones that you could really feel acting on you. Whereas I feel my moon and I feel my Mars acting in me, I feel those outer big planets acting on me, okay? That is how I have come to understand the planets. I don't know how you feel. Let me know in the comments, but okay. So depending on how that family is getting along in your chart is how you are going to behave and how you're going to experience life. So getting to know those people and kind of appeasing them is a useful way of, one, spending your time, and it is also a useful way of improving yourself and having an easier time of life, okay? So now Saturn, if Saturn is placed in your first house, he's going to be putting that pressure and judging you and wanting you to be an expert in your physical body and your personality. He wants you to really truly know who you are, and to really stand for something. What do you stand for? That's what he's asking you. If you have Saturn in the second house, that's a house of resources. He wants you to be responsible for the money that you make in this world and the resources that you're able to provide for yourself and likely your family. If you have Saturn in the third house, he really wants you to know, like, hey, why are you even talking? Like, do you have something important to say? He wants you to only talk if you have something important to say that you could defend, okay? If you have Saturn in the fourth house, that's a tough placement. He wants you to be comfortable in your own skin. He wants you to feel safe by yourself. He wants you to be self-sufficient, because the fourth house is the house of the mother and the house of where you first feel whole and complete as a person. And when he's placed there, it's really hard. You're very hard on yourself. And it all stems down to him wanting you to be secure by yourself, okay? In the fifth house, Saturn wants you to be serious in this life. He is kind of limiting your... What is this? Anyways, he is limiting that area of your life where you're supposed to have fun and chill out and express yourself. So he is limiting that in you, and he wants you to just be a serious person in this life. In the sixth house, Saturn is basically making you a really hard worker. He works rather good in that house. In the seventh house, he wants you to be serious about relationships. He doesn't want you to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. He wants you to really know what you're doing and choose a wise partner. He doesn't want you to have like these measly people that come around all the time. He wants you to find out. The ninth house, Saturn wants you to be serious about expanding your mind. He wants you to be serious about your beliefs and your experiences. He wants you to kind of challenge what you've thought that you've always known in your life. He wants you to question your beliefs. In the 10th house, Saturn wants you to stand for something and to really be conscious of your reputation and your legacy in this life. In the 11th house, Saturn wants you to be serious about your social groups. He wants you to be serious about friends. He wants you to be a good friend. He wants you to learn to be part of a group and stop stop trying to be such a weirdo and stand out. Wants you to learn how to be part of the crowd of friends, right? For friendly purposes, not for like dumb purposes. In the 12th house, Saturn wants you to gain dominion of your psyche and your mind, your psychology. I highly recommend meditation if you have Saturn in the 12th house. So guys, that was Saturn through the houses. That was Saturn the planet, and that was the cranky grandpa, Jordan Peterson, as Saturn. So I hope you liked the video, and I hope you stay tuned for the rest of the series. If you liked the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.